Hello there again, and welcome. Welcome, fellow spiritual psychic travelers and seekers on the path. It's Psychic Cynthia here, spiritual psychic Cynthia Killian. And today I want to elaborate a little bit further, addressing some of your concerns about your own spiritual psychic development for those of you who are awakening and opening to your gifts. And this really has to do with, concerns that I've heard from students and clients throughout the years, and even potential students. And it has to do with being a little bit insecure on your psychic path, and maybe feeling that you're not advanced enough to do something. And I want to address that because recently I've had a few people say, Cynthia, I want to take your psychic mentorship course with you, but I don't know if I'm advanced enough to join the others. And this is the first time I've heard this, though. I've heard it many times throughout the years. And then in other forms, I've heard fellow psychics who are perhaps, a little bit newer to the past say, I'd like to do this. I'd like to go do this kind of reading, or try this with this group or whatever, but I don't know if I'm advanced enough. So I just wanted to talk about that. And let me just hit right to the point for those of you who are busy or impatient and don't have much time. How do you rate that? How would you ever rate what it means to be an advanced psychic? I don't know about you, but I've been on this path quite a while, actually decades, and I'm not sure that I could come up with a firm, fixed definition of what it means to be an advanced psychic. What are the criteria for that? How do we quantify that? I don't think it's a quantifiable thing. In other words, when I use the word quantifiable, that phrase, you can't scientifically measure that like the way you can weigh something in a lab, okay? You might be able to, measure it qualitatively. You might be able to say, this psychic, when I had a reading by them or when I was with them, I had a high quality experience. I felt connected to the spirit realm, or I don't know, you might even say you saw some phenomenon. But again, how do you quantify that? Because it's subjective, is what I'm saying. And if you're around me any amount of time, or even watch my videos, you'll notice that I rarely call myself, if ever, I don't know that I ever, but I might if somebody else was using that term and I thought it was a term, the only term they'd understand, but because then that's just about speaking the same language with somebody. But as far as my own personal language, I rarely refer to myself as an advanced psychic or an advanced, much. In terms of the spiritual realm, because I don't think you can, measure that objectively, okay? So instead, the term I would use to refer to someone like me who has done this many years and who might obviously be very good at it, but the term I use instead is experienced. So, because how do I know? How do I know that I'm more advanced than somebody else? How do I know that, right? Like, they might have different criteria. And how do you know? How do you know that, okay, if you're just beginning, you're not advanced. I get that. Although you don't know how much you've advanced in past lifetimes. Okay, that's another discussion. I know I'm getting out there and woo-woo, but it's true, isn't it? And you never know. Your brand new self to the psychic path might be more sophisticated and more natural than somebody who's been doing it 10 or 20 years. Probably not somebody who's been doing it a lifetime, but you get what I'm saying here? Really, this whole thing about worrying about whether you're advanced enough or not to do something, in terms of the psychic realm, I think a lot of the times it has to do with the ego, okay? Because it's like you're comparing yourself, and you're worrying about, like, especially if you're just getting started, I mean, don't worry about, even if you're not, I don't sit around comparing myself a lot, and I'm not just getting started. And frankly, I didn't do it much in the beginning either. That's how I got to where I'm at. I didn't give a crap about what other people were doing in terms of their, okay, I care about other people. But what I'm saying is, like, I didn't pay a lot of attention to, like, I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses and compete with another person, because you cannot compete. They cannot compete with you either on your own path. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand? You have your own individual path, your own unique psychic journey. It is unique to you. Yes, there are some dimensions of it, no pun intended, that are similar, and we could look at stages of growth. And I've done that in some of my work. And you start out as a baby psychic because you're less experienced and not sure of yourself. And then you progress, or you can look at it. I also like to look at it like a model according to nature, the seed psychic. That's where a lot of you are at now. Maybe I'll do a video on this sometimes. The seed psychic is the person who's just packed with potential but hasn't sprouted yet, right? So anyway, some of you might be there. Again, you can look at it in terms of different stages. You can look at it in number of years of experience. But the psychic arts are very subjective. They are an art. There might be some aspects of it that could be considered more scientific, or, at least structured, let's say. And that's something you can come into as you do get more experience. But there's so much in the psychic field that you don't need to be, quote unquote, advanced in order to do. And a lot of it, you may not need to be more experienced. Now, there are some things that you probably should be more experienced for. But God knows that I felt in over my head many times, as a psychic reader, doing different things. And I thought, I don't really know what I'm doing here. And then I sort of figured it out as I went along the way. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, I will say. And that's why I teach classes, okay, sometimes. I mean, I can't do it all the time because I have a private practice. And I also love to explore music and dance. So, time is finite in this three-dimensional reality. But I digress. That is why I teach classes, though, is so that people don't have to learn everything the hard way unless they want to, okay? But yeah. Don't let your ego stop you from, embarking on exploring your gifts, however you want to do that. Don't let, insecurity about feeling not good enough. If you're like, you want to go to class, I don't just mean mine, okay? I just mean any of this. That's why you learn. That's why you study. If you feel like of course you're not as good today as you will be in, say, 5 years, if you actually started studying and developing. That's true of anything, isn't it? I mean, I know I recently moved into being a drummer and a percussionist. I had drummed a little, just at drumming circles and things, and I really had no structure or definition of my drumming, let me put it that way. But I decided in 2020 to pick up the drum, starting with the djembe, because that's good rhythm training. And it was so hard. I was so terrible at it. I really was, okay? But then I kept at it, and then I branched out into handpan, and after a while I was okay at it, okay? And I'm not going to say I'm an advanced drummer. I'm not, but I got a little bit of experience. Why? Because I practice every day, okay? So it's kind of the same for you on your psychic path. If you were to practice however you do that and just start developing it, and what I'm saying is just go for it. If you think you have natural, intuitive, psychic, empathic gifts, or if you want to be a tarot reader or an astrologer, just start studying it and learning about it. And most importantly, start practicing, start doing it. And don't worry about if you're advanced, and even after you might be advanced, okay? Don't worry about it. It's not about being advanced, it's about being the best that you are. And the thing about these kinds of paths, these spiritual psychic paths, they meet you where you're at. Your path will meet you where you're at. So whether you're completely new to this, or you've been involved a few years or a few months, or in my case, basically your lifetime, um, the path always meets us where we're at. It's never over. And again, that may be why I don't use the term advanced very often to refer to myself or other uh, psychics who might actually be advanced. I don't use that term because it's all relative in terms of your own unique path. And I find, and maybe some of you who have a few more years experience, even a year of experience, maybe you could write about this and share what your insights are. But I find that even as you, if you want to use the word advance, let's use the word progress. Okay, even as you progress on your path and learn new skills and you develop different aspects of your spiritual psychic self and different psychic faculties, then new horizons appear, new faculties appear, new vistas call out to you that you want to explore, and then you start to explore those new vistas within the spiritual psychic path, I'm saying, and then you start all over again, right, with no experience in that realm. So it would be fair to say that in most ways, all of us are somewhat advanced. I mean, we have something we're advanced in. Even if you're not advanced in the psychic path, there's probably something you're advanced in, something you know how to do really well. It could just be brushing your teeth. I don't know. We all have things that we're advanced at, and we all have things that we're completely new at, where we haven't progressed much. We don't know much. We're beginners, and that's okay. And, kind of bring this back around. I mean, if you were thinking about doing some kind of course or program or just embarking on your own path of study, I wouldn't let a lack of experience stop you, is what I'm saying. Unless, that course of study you are thinking about embarking upon, unless it specifically says, it shouldn't say you have to be advanced only. It should list the requirements, because again, that is subjective. What advanced means changes from discipline to discipline. And when we're talking about the psychic arts, that could be defined different ways. So, yes, if it's a level 3 program and there's 1 or 2 that you're supposed to take ahead of time. So if there's a prerequisite, then yes, you're probably going to have to do that. But otherwise, start where you're at if the door is open to you. And of course, if you are thinking about seeking the help of a psychic teacher and you're not sure, then, it's good to ask questions. It's good to ask, do you think this would be appropriate for me? I have this level of experience, I have no experience. I don't think that's going to matter for a lot of psychic classes. That's my thought on it, at least. So anyway, hope this helps some of you. If nothing else, I just hope it helps you to be more at ease in your psychic skin and to realize you don't have to focus on becoming advanced. Just focus on progressing. And, actually you'll do that. You will progress if you just focus on getting experience and doing it and living it. That's the secret right there. Alrighty, until next time, sending you all bright blessings and many open third eyes.